This happens when you try to retire on $3 million in 2026. Less than 1% of retirees cross the finish line, but a growing number of financial planners now call $3 million the new $1 million. That has raised clear tensions. Is this the ultimate flexibility after retirement? Or is it quietly far less bulletproof than it sounds? The only honest way to resolve this debate is to do math. First, let's anchor that in reality, Americans aged 65 to 74 have an average retirement balance of about $609,000, according to the Federal Reserve's latest Consumer Finance Survey. The average American household earns $333,940. The median tends to be more honest, at just $87,000. A 2026 Planning and Progress study by Northwestern Mutual found that Americans believe they need $1.46 million to retire comfortably. In the 2025 study, that number briefly dropped to 1.26 million and then rebounded. 3 million is not just above average. That is about twice as much as most Americans think they need security. Only about 3.2% of retirees have broken through 1M retirement accounts, according to the Federal Reserve and the Employee Benefit Research Institute. Only 0.1% reached 5 million. That is, 3 million positions put you at a very thin top. The real problem now is, how much does a $3 million pension really give you? Let's start by building the rules for the entire modern retirement planning industry. The famous 4% rule. Founded in 1994 by a financial advisor named Bengen, the rule never started at 4%, because his preliminary study showed that the maximum safe withdrawal rate in the first year was 4.15%. It is then adjusted annually for inflation. The idea is simple. Take out the money, and under historical market conditions, your money should last about 30 years. Add in 4% to $3 million. And before tax and inflation adjustment, your annual income is $120,000. That is where things started to get interesting. In 2026, Mr. Bengen published a new book, Affluent Retirement. He also proposed rules as portfolios become more diversified. His latest study found a safe withdrawal rate of 4.7%, plus $3 million, about $141,000 in the first year. The problem is that the updated figures are based on a 30-year retirement age. So if you retire early at 55 or 60, you need 40 or 50 years of money. The FIRE community will tell you that 4.7% is too aggressive for this timeline. Putting Social Security first has changed. The Social Security Bureau estimated that the average monthly retirement benefit in January 2026 was $2,071. But those with higher incomes, most of them managed to save $3 million. Nearly $3,000 a month. Spread the difference to $2,500 a month, or about $30,000 a year. Add in $120,000 in portfolio withdrawals, and your total annual retirement income is about $150,000. On paper, the number looks incredible, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. In 2024, retired families spent an average of $59,616. That is, $150,000 is more than twice what the average retiree actually spends. The obvious conclusion is that the game is over. The obvious conclusion is wrong. 3 quiet forces relentlessly nibble at the number, and that is where $3 million starts to feel much less than the headline suggests. The first force is healthcare. Fidelity Investment has issued annual medical cost estimates for retirees for 24 consecutive years. Estimates for 2026 show that 65-year-olds now retiring will spend an average of $172,500 on healthcare throughout their retirement. That is up 4% from a year ago, when Fidelity introduced its valuation in 2002. That is just $80,000. That means it has more than doubled in 23 years. Today, the average 65-year-old couple spends about $12,850 on healthcare in their first year of retirement. The immediate problem for Fidelity is that the $172,500 figure does not include long-term care. It doesn't help that a fifth of Americans admit that they have never even considered healthcare in their retirement plans. In Gen X, that number climbed to a quarter. This leads to the second silent killer, long-term care. Care Scout, Care Cost Survey, 2026. Most consultants mentioned Genworth Research set the national median annual cost for private rooms in nursing homes at $129,575. Home care runs 4 hours a week, about $80,080 a year. Researchers at the Boston College Center for Retirement Research estimate that the average lifetime long-term care cost for women is $171,000. That compares with $98,000 for men. That is largely because women live longer, 2 or 3 years of care, and you just erased $300,000 or $400,000 from your $3 million balance. The third force is what Mr. Bengen himself described in an interview with CNBC as the biggest enemy of retirees. This is inflation. BLS data show that retired families spent $51,048 in 2021, climbed to $54,990 in 2022, $57,866 in 2023, $59,616 in 2024. That means about 17% growth in just 3 years. This compound cost increase has forced the safe withdrawal rate to decline. That is why Mr. Bengen has warned throughout his career that bad markets could recover. But that is not the case with rising inflation. What surprises nearly every $3 million retiree is taxes. Unless your money is in Ross's account, the IRS withdraws a portion of every dollar you withdraw. Once you are 73, the government forces you to get the minimum allocation you need from the traditional IRA and 401ks. Whether you need the money or not, combine these mandatory withdrawals with Social Security and any pension income, and you can easily push yourself into a higher tax bracket. That means the $120,000 you are withdrawing could actually be close to $90,000 or $95,000. Another risk is worth mentioning, because it is for early retirees. This is the so-called return sequence risk. The concept was explained by Charles Schwab and Bank of America. The return on investment orders is very important. So if the market falls 20% in the first 2 years after you retire, you spend $120,000 a year. Even if long-term average returns end up looking good on paper, you can permanently weaken your portfolio. Now, we can really answer that question. Can $3 million sustain the retirement lifestyle you've dreamed of? If you retire at 65 and the cost of living is moderate, in line with your typical dream of a comfortable American lifestyle. So the answer is yes. Math is the real buffer. Go Banking Green, S 2026 analysis, set the cost of comfortable retirement in West Virginia at $37,562 a year. Mississippi, $38,448. Alabama, about $70,492. That is, relative to total annual income of $150,000. $3 million is really abundant. If your dreams look different, things change. Retired at 55, living in Hawaii, California, or Massachusetts. International travel agencies help adult children make down payments and provide long-term care for yourself or your spouse for 5 to 10 years. Everything changed the equation, and $3 million is still comfortable, but no longer untouchable. Extend the same balance from 30 to 40 years. Healthy inflation in your first 5 years, plus a bad market sequence, and cushion the contraction faster than most retirees expect. Here are the honest takeaways. $3 million puts you roughly in the top 1% of retirees. Created enough income to live well above the average retirement spending of Americans. Under traditional withdrawal rules, combined with Social Security, the total annual income is about $150,000. But this is not a force field. Healthcare costs have more than doubled since 2002. 6-figure long-term care bills a year. Every 12 months, rising prices quietly raise your spending floor. And meaningful taxes. These 4 factors determine whether $3 million feels comfortable or stressed. Retirees who actually succeeded at $3 million think that is not enough. They're the ones who plan as if it is impossible.